Oh, I keep a roll of painter's tape over there now, so when I cut wood, I won't get the splintering as bad.
Warning, warning. Do not follow this fool's examples. Always take proper safety precautions. Do not be in a rush to go to the hospital. Do not be in a rush for me to come visit you.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Power Workshop. It is I, that knot that is strategically placed right where you need to make your cut, Techno Meow Tinkerer. And today we're going to make a table saw jig for cutting strips of wood. And where I got this idea from is I'm actually currently working on a project that is installing power on-off switches onto USB cables, and I need to make a way of mounting. I've been trying to figure out how I want to mount it. And as I was doing that, I was going through YouTube, watching different videos, trying to get ideas, and I came across one that sparked a way for me to do it as well as to handle another issue I have of a project I want to do in the future. And that is cutting strips of wood a certain length, like very thin, like an eighth, a quarter, and 3/8. I've been looking at wanting to buy some of the stuff from Dollar Tree because it's like the closest place that where I could have bought these strips of wood, but they don't keep them in stock in the store, at least not anymore. And if you order them, you have to order 25, and I'm going to need more than 25. But for some of my other projects, I kind of don't need. I need only a few right now to play with. And so this came across as a way to make a jig to cut these strips of wood fairly easy, I should say, because in the past I actually have done woodworking and I took a carpentry class and tried cutting strips of wood. And the way I would do it was I move my guide close enough to the blade where it's just the thickness of the wood I want to cut and cut it that way. The problem was I didn't have an easy way of pushing the thin piece of wood between the blade and the guide through, and so sometimes through back, and the teacher helpers that were there, uh, the assistants, was no, like, I just need, if I'm gonna cut like an eighth of a strip of wood, I'll just move my guide every so often, just as the 2x4 or whatever piece of wood I was cutting get smaller and smaller, and I never could get consistent cuts of wood. And so when I came across this video, it is from the DIY Montreal channel. Again, did I already say that? I can't remember. Anyway, the name of the video is 5 Super Simple Woodworking Jigs That'll Make Your Life Easier, and I'll leave a link in the description. And as you can see here, the jig she made actually addresses 3 of my issues I were having. The main one was to get a consistent cut. By using the jig, I can actually push the wood both sides through without having to worry about anything shooting back. Second, it also has a top on it. That way it allows the wood to stay pressed down so it don't pop up, and it keeps my hand away from the blade. And kind of like going back to the first one, but the third one is I don't have to keep readjusting the guide to as my piece of wood shrinks. And so we're gonna, as we go make this, so watch the video of me making the jig here. I grabbed this piece of scrap wood. I had a business storefront one time, and I had a counter already in there. Now when I cut the counter down to the size I needed, I held onto the scrap. That's why it's kind of stained. But as an artist, a person who hasn't had a lot of money, and a woodworker, I think we all three types don't throw stuff away as easy. Oh, I keep a roll of painter's tape over there now, so when I cut wood, I won't get the splintering as bad. But yeah, from not having a lot of money growing up, of my own money to spend, I would hold on to stuff in case I ever need it. As an artist, my art teacher never said never throw none of our stuff or work away. And I've noticed with woodworkers, they're about the same way. So all 3 of us are kind of a bit of a hoarder when it comes to materials. And this piece of wood, this 2x4 I'm using, was one that my dad got off of pallets. My dad, He got a lot of pallets people were throwing away and stripping the wood, and he built some bee boxes, some swarm traps, and bird houses. And so I grabbed. I asked him which pallet of wood if it was that I could use, if there was any that, so I wouldn't grab any that he was saving for projects. And one thing is, he found out that bluebirds eat webworms, and we have pecan trees, and so he made a few bluebird houses. We have not seen webworms, and so he made a lot of bluebird houses. I think so much that our neighbor about a quarter mile down the road don't even have webworms in their pecan trees. So if you have pecan trees and you want to keep the webworms out and not keep burning them out or spraying them out or cutting them out, bluebird houses. It's a whole lot cheaper and easier. Let them do all the work. Now I'm just reusing some of the holes there. Now I did do a pilot hole earlier to make sure that the first screw I put in went into the 2x4. Again, a cheating way to mark the wood to cut. And as I pushed this through, I think I didn't have the saw blade high enough because I had to actually pull back and push through because it like got tough cutting through. But I wanted this backstop tall enough that way when I push the wood through, it won't cut the entire backstop off, because I do want to go across. And I'll probably end up having to replace this in the future depending on how many variant sizes of wood I cut. Yes, the handle. Piece of scrap wood my dad was throwing away years ago. I held on, and it was a tough wood. Now I was looking for what screws I got long enough. But yeah, when I went through drilled these pilot holes through, it was a bit of a tough piece of wood. I don't know if it's just because of what type of wood it is, or it's just been sitting in a storage bin with all that heat and dried out. But now I did learn why a lot of people use those handles on those grippers they push the wood through, because later on when I was doing a bunch of test cuts trying to hone this in, getting used to using this, I was starting to get cramped up in my hand holding that wood. So I may take it off and trim it down a little bit so it's a little more comfortable in my hand. Oh yeah, back that screw up, because sometimes that screw didn't want to go all the way in at first, so I backed it out and go back in. So for some reason that helps makes the screw go faster. And we get to do the first test cut of one of the pieces of wood, scrap pieces of wood I had. This was not so much of testing the size, it was just me seeing how to use this through it, to try to figure out if there's anything I need to be aware of before I go start cutting. Now here's where I actually try to line the guide up to specifically cut a certain size wood. And one of the issues I had, as you can see here, is that little guide that's in the table saw is right where my edge of my tape measure needed to be and got caught. Yeah, I had the push stick there just in case I needed to make sure it was leveled as I was pushing it through. And as you can see, one of the issues I'm going to probably need to address is my dad's table saw is a bit too short for using this jig. And I'm going to have to learn how to calibrate. I think the piece of wood slid at the beginning, I saw in the video, but as you can see, it's kind of tapered. So I'm going to have to play around and learn to hone in on this. But overall, as you can see in this picture here, it's going to be helpful for me, so I can hopefully cut consistent pieces of wood. Now I did trim off this, do one run trimming, trying to square up the jig. I may do a little bit more just to make sure, because I don't know if it was the jig piece of wood that at the time I don't know what was causing taper. I don't know if it was the wood sliding, the jig itself was not square, or I'm just not getting the guide straight. I'm going to have to work with it, play with it, and once I get close to mastering it, I'll be able to cut all the pieces of strips I need, the size I need. And as you can kind of see a little bit where I kind of cut into the top piece of wood, I'm okay with it just cutting a little bit of that wood off. It's keeping it, as long as it keep it away from my fingers. But I hope this I hope this video was helpful for some people and give you ideas on how to cut strips of wood safely and consistently. And if you get a chance, go check the actual video out that I got this idea from on YouTube, the DIY Montreal channel. Again, I am leaving the link to that video in the description. I don't know how links work on Rumble, or if I'm going to have it correctly, so you may have to copy and paste. But for the most part, go check some stuff out. Like I do, I go around looking for ideas and possible solutions. But like I said again, hopefully this video was useful for somebody. If you like this content and you like the content of my channel, please like and subscribe and share this with anyone you might think this could be helpful with. Other than that, I hope all of you have a nice day.